Pow! And today, welcome back to the vlog, everybody. A day that has been building and building and building for the last 3 years. I've had to wait so long. I've worked so hard, double down, 2 jobs, 3 jobs, social media, you name it, I've done what I can. And most importantly, the message in all of this is you can do anything you possibly want if you set your mind to it. And yes, I finally achieved one of my greatest goals of all time. Yes, I'm a little older. Yes, I got a few gray hairs over it. And yes, it was tough go all the way along. But I finally achieved my dream, my goal. My dream car is right over here, and I'm gonna share that. I'm gonna do a full walk around this whole car, give you a top to bottom on why I picked some of the features and options. But most importantly, I just wanna show you what I bought. We finally took possession here recently, and I even still have the paper on the floors from when they delivered it off the truck. I'm still absolutely in awe. Got the plates, got the insurance. We've been going for a quick couple of spins around the neighborhood. Other than that, this is more or less, we haven't really done a maiden voyage, and I want to share this brand new supercar with each and every one of you. Remember, you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. Right there, lo and behold, my new supercar, everybody. It's a 2025 Ferrari 296 GTB. That's right, the GTB being the coupe. The coupe, there is also a GTS, which is the Spider, but this one here, in fact, is mine. Finished in this glorious Giallo Modena, which is their conventional F1 colors. One of their colors, if you either go with the Rosso Corsa red or Giallo Modena like this, and it's one of their classic colors, represents some colors that came out of the state of Modena in Italy. And of course it actually is more indicative to what you're seeing on the crest, because the crest is truly that color, but they wanted to dress it up, and that's just a classic color that Ferrari adopted, and it's been around forever. Now they have many different variations of yellow, they have metallics, they have all kinds of different colors and shades. But this is the color I went with because it's a little bit more original. It's more of that conventional color. And if you talk to a lot of Ferrari people, they'll tell you, well, it's a color known way back in, you know, some of the earlier cars. You see them lots in the 360s, and they were utilized a lot more in, you know, back in the 90s and beyond in the 2000s. But now we are back. I wanted an original color, something that really spoke to the brand. But that wasn't typical red, Ferrari red, which is what a lot of people do. They go with the conventional reds, which is absolutely gorgeous. I don't think there's a bad color in these cars. But let's do a quick walk around. I'm still in awe when I take a look at this and I look at the car from a distance. Honestly, I'm in awe. I'm truly in shock and awe, because this is a dream that I never thought was going to happen. I'm going to share the whole experience with you guys as time goes on here. I'm going to share the ownership experience, what it was to actually buy it, some of the features in depth, the cost of ownership, and all of this. We're going to get into a lot more detail on top of course, a lot of the other cars that we have. But remember, yes, I did it on a song and a dance, working hard, the grind, 9 to 5. Yes, you can do it. If I can do it, trust me, anybody can do it. But here we have it, my 2025, and I'd like to hear your comments down below. If you've got any color comments, any details, any things that you don't like about it, do you like about it, thoughts on, you know, maybe there was a better alternative in terms of cars on the market. But you know what? I love this thing absolutely to death. This thing is spectacular. It does so many things so right. My first experience driving one of these was just nothing short of breathtaking. It was actually put me in my seat to a point where I could not believe the level of precision and the handling, the brakes, and even more so the performance was nothing I've ever experienced before. The acceleration is ridiculous. Most people equate it to, if you've ever had an experience with the acceleration of a Plaid, like a Tesla Model X Plaid or an S Plaid, that's pretty much the same level of thrust you're getting with this car, but you've got the sounds, you get the noise from the engine. And let's show you some of that right now, because you know, it's ironic, because a lot of you are probably asking, is it a hybrid? Yes, I actually drove from my house to here on pure electric. I didn't even start up the engine. Now, some of you, I know it's a controversy, but I think there's some benefits to it as well. And we're going to talk about that, you know, some of the warranties and what it's like to own these vehicles, and how is it like to drive a supercar that's a hybrid. I want to share that because, again, I never thought I would do that. I want to talk about that in more depth because how did I even come to 296? Actually, originally, I saw a video, and I'm going to shout out Vehicle Virgins did a review on an F8 Tributo. And when I saw that video, I thought to myself, I need that car in my life. He was so flabbergasted by the acceleration, and he was just loving it. And I saw that video, and I just came to terms with, I need a Ferrari. So I called up the local dealer here in Alberta. I talked to a great gentleman there who basically said he'd check in on it, but unfortunately the books were closed. This is what was next in line, so we put a deposit. We went down, had a good look, we did a first kind of initial build on it, and here we are 3 years later. The 296, they said, was inspired by a Ferrari back in the 250 LM many years ago. You'll notice this sort of rear quarter section definitely represents that type of look. That overall look is coming back from more of an old school Ferrari detailing. Then I look at other factors. You know, I look at the window right here, and when I look at this section, I think, well, this looks a lot like the Ferrari Enzo. Go look at some Ferrari Enzo detailing and you'll see that looks very much like that. Now, as you look at the rear quarter, there's sort of an element of Ford GT that you can look at. There's a piece of that, but that's, of course, another brand. And you come around the front, there's definitely a little bit of a Roma feel, but more importantly, I would say even that transition from the F8. You can see the F8 look and styling in the front, minus the F8 had the S-duct in the front here, and this car does not have the S-duct. Although that said, the Speciale brings the S-duct back in a more aggressive version of the 296. But this car here, you've got these cool daytime running lights, and you've got all of these great detailing up front here. I love this. There's also a bit of a hole here. Probably can't see that too well in the camera, but that basically goes to push air, and all part of the airflow in this vehicle helps cooling the front brakes. Not that you need a lot of assistance, because with these extremely large carbon ceramic brakes, they kind of do a pretty good job of their own. Now, I went with more of a conventional wheel here. You can step it up to a forged wheel. I went to more of a conventional style for the 296, had it painted in high gloss black. I personally just love that look. I love the contrasting colors. You know, my Lambo, I had a similar look. I had white with gloss black wheels, and I just love the look, that high, extremely bright color with dark features, and that's kind of what I did here. So we went with the dark gloss here. Unfortunately, the black trim along the bottom, I did not do carbon fiber, simply because the roads that we live in around here are pretty rough. There's a lot of gravel, and all I know is if you ever have an oops or a mishap, that carbon is extremely expensive to replace. And you know what, honestly, you can almost do too much, in my opinion. I found a middle ground. I loaded this up pretty well, and I'll show you the features plaque, because under the hood they actually have that listed. Then we cycle around, and you'll notice the new design language on the Ferraris and the rear tail light assembly. I personally love it. Now, I know some enthusiasts are mixed on it. It has that sort of double circle, but it's condensed, and everything just feels a lot more low profile. There, I had this updated in black. This normally comes in silver, and of course I did the horsey, the Cavallino in black. And down here I also did this surround in black. Now, some people are doing this, the standard color is silver, or sort of a brushed metal look, but you know what I'm seeing is a lot of those are starting to get sort of some marks and staining there from the heat, because you do get some flame out of the exhaust at times. And again, I kept it with the standard looking diffuser at the bottom. You do get backup camera right there, but generally the back of this car is absolutely spectacular. It has this glorious glass. We're gonna pop the hood, shall we? So under the glass, we just lift this up nice and gentle, flip that up, and that is one of the most exquisite piece of glass I've ever seen on an engine bay before. Of course, here you've got, you know, quick access for your quick ones. There's your coolant reservoir, there's your oil reservoir, but most importantly, you have a hot V. It's 120 degree displacement on the engine configuration. That gives you a perfect opportunity to place two turbos in there, because it's a hot V, so it's a twin turbo V6 that makes well over 600 ponies. So collectively, between the horsepower that you put out from the engine as well as the electric motor through the 8-speed dual clutch gearbox, you're producing as much as 819 horsepower combined from that little hot V and as well the electric motor. Of course, right there, there's some of your cables for the electric system. And I look at this and you'll notice it sits very, very low in the chassis. And a big part of that is opening up the V. That's why that wide V of 120 degrees isn't quite a horizontally opposed like a 911, but it's wider and it's lower, so you can get the engine lower in the chassis to allow for a better weight distribution and allows for the vehicle essentially to handle better. It's less of that hanging weight out the back. A lot of mid-engine cars with big V12s, V10s from, you know, even a decade ago, quite often you could feel that extra weight hanging out back there. As soon as a sudden change of direction, you could still feel that sort of delayed shift. Well, this pretty much eliminates that because you get the engine low, but on top of it, behind the seats as well, that's where they place the batteries. So it's in front of the wheels, it's right behind the seats, and it's down low. So all the weight is between the wheels and down low to help the center of gravity and to help this vehicle handle like it's on rails. This is the roof. Now you can get a standard body painted color. This normally comes in this case as a yellow or whatever the color the car is. If it's red or it's blue, that would be the same color. Now you can get that paint upgrade. It's a significant cost increase. This here is also standard in black. So the A-pillar here is standard black. You'll notice the thickness or how thin it actually is. So it actually gives a really clean wraparound look, and it has a very much a spaceship design to it. I love the overall looks of the car. Very futuristic, and yet there's a lot of touches of old school, a lot of old Ferrari, and if you draw the parallels to a lot of their older generational cars, you see that lineage time and time again in different areas. One area that really resonates for me is this section right here. And when you look through the mirrors and you're looking through the rear view mirrors and you're looking down here, you'll see this just scalloped area. It's absolutely gorgeous. Goes right into that vent, and all of these vents on both sides help for cooling and all of that charge air pressure and cool air getting into the engine. Absolutely gorgeous car in just about every way, and a lot of great detailing went into the design of this car, even from cool accents like this. You know, they've got this lightning punch detail here just to sort of open that up. You've got this beautiful mesh that you can see some of the mechanicals right through there. Now, one thing that I noticed, and in practical sense, people don't talk about this, but I'm going to talk about it. First of all, to open the handle, you've got to put your fingers in there and push that all the way down in, and then pull the door open. It's a little bit convoluted, but I definitely love that, how that works. Now down here, you have a way to open up your gas and your electric. And of course, over on the driver's side, if you're a left-hand drive vehicle, here's where you plug in your electric charge. And on the other side, remember, if you're gassing this up, it's over on your right-hand side. Like most Euro cars these days, has the right-hand side filled. Now it just has this push-in one. You don't have to release anything. But actually, believe it or not, I have yet to actually have to put gas in this car, because it's just, like I said, a couple trips around the neighborhood, and really I haven't used enough gas to even consider putting in a tank yet. But there you go. That's how you release that. And of course, let's take a closer look. Now, some of the detailing. Of course, we have Alcantara here on in the strips. We've got some Alcantara down there in the center section right there. So there's blends of Alcantara. We've got nice leather with contrast yellow stitching, lots of contrasting yellow stitching here, all leather. The entire dash is leather. I even went with the leather headliner right there, because the standard material, it looks great, it's well made and it holds well, but there's just an element of continuity. You don't want to add too many different textures. So if you've already got essentially Alcantara and leather, throwing yet another texture in there, fabric, just feels to me a little bit off. So I decided put leather to match with leather to match with leather. So all you really have is, you know, Alcantara and leather in this vehicle from top to bottom. Of course, here you've got the massive carbon fiber steering wheel. You got the LEDs on the top, and this is a piece of livery right here to get that yellow strip. I wanted to do that to match up with the rest of the continuity of the colors throughout the car and the cabin. Now you'll see you have carbon fiber paddles, carbon fiber steering wheel, lots of carbon here. We went with the carbon fiber center tunnel in there. That's all carbon, as is the carbon race seats. That's something that I really wanted to have, because when you open the door and you're welcome to this gorgeous rolling section of carbon, you just give this a little tug and look at that gorgeous carbon fiber back on that. Beautiful, absolutely gorgeous seats. And that's of course where the batteries reside. You have a little extra storage back here, but again, lots of lots of leather wrapped throughout this entire vehicle. I also opted up to get the yellow seat belts, which was a nice touch. I mean, every car has black seat belts, so it was an option. Why not check that box? Here, of course, we have the carbon fiber door sills. That's an upgrade as well. Normally they come with aluminum, but that's an upgrade, and it just pops when you open the door. It's a nice look. I wanted something a little bit different, and there you go. More leather down here, more Alcantara, and you could see the entire cabin is essentially loaded with all kinds of great materials, and it feels nice. You know, a lot of people are complaining about the haptic controls. I'm not a hater of it. I actually like them, to be honest. The haptics look so nice to me because they're so dark, they're so clean. And it's not until you basically hit a button and you wake them up, then everything comes alive. For now, until you're in there and ready to go, you don't really see anything. It's all really dark and it just looks very, very clean. And I personally like that. I know a lot of critics pretty much criticize that, and even Ferrari's considering bringing back and introducing a steering wheel that actually has hard buttons. I do like a hard conventional push button would be nice, but other things all considered, the haptic controls to me actually look glorious, especially when they go to sleep or even when the car's parked like this. It just looks so clean. Now on the passenger side, it's very much the same. You have the script, the 296 GTB script right on there, and you actually get another screen. There's another little illuminated screen. We'll share it with that with time as time goes on, but actually the passenger also gets to play. There's controls for stereo on there as well as heater controls, and you can even see the speed, the engine RPM, the overall speed is shown right here too. So even the passenger gets you know, a little bit of a show. Now on top of that, here they pretty much all have their standard locations. Fire extinguisher, pretty standard, conventional, but again, more carbon seating right here. Beautiful touch. And that's pretty much it in a nutshell in the interior. So let's take a look under the front trunk, and we're gonna do that by a quick couple of strokes of that. And now we can open up the lid. Good bugs they look, the yellow paint, I guess. Okay, let's open up the front trunk. And there you go. Lots of plastic surround. You can upgrade that to carbon. I didn't do that, but in some, I see some high trim levels, they'll upgrade all of this into carbon fiber. Same thing with the back engine section. Some people will put the full surround in carbon. I basically kept most of the carbon fiber to the interior of the car, and I kept most of the exterior wearing components in more of a plastic, so it's a little easier for wear and tear. But right there you get, of course, you get tools, and you get air compressor, spare cover right there. Of course, here's the charging cables. That's where the charger came. And of course, right there, there's the list that you have of the features. Now this one here, all of the options listed out there. And that options plaque is something all modern Ferraris have now to basically tell you in a nutshell what this vehicle came with brand new. And so that one there, fairly well spec'd, I might add. It's just like I said, I opted out of some of the exterior carbon just for the sake of practicality. Otherwise, you know what, it went with, you know, a pretty healthy dose on the inside of the car, because that's where you spend most of your time. So again, the message isn't really as much about the car, because we're going to experience the car in every way, including just like our, you know, the 996 or the Mercedes or what have you. But the point of the matter is, you know, I've always prioritized fun cars, and this car is absolutely, to me, the pinnacle. I never thought I'd go this far, but here I am. You know, I finally decided we only live once. You know what, I turned 55 this year, and I definitely want to treat myself. But scaling this back, this actually took 3 years to get this vehicle. That's right. Back in the spring of 2022 is when I ordered this vehicle. I sat down with the sales guy. We did our preliminary build. He said, don't worry about it. We won't lock it in. We'll just sort of build it. We'll create something to base it off of, and chances are you're going to change your mind over time. And you know what, there's numerous changes. We kept flip-flopping colors actually, because Rosso Corsa is where I started. Then I came back to yellow and Rosso Corsa with different features. You know, I went with the forged wheels and I took them away, and you know, you opt up and you take some things off, and ultimately it's a decision that often takes many, many tries. And you know what, this is the end result. This is the car. I'm so pleased with it, honestly, and I hope all of you guys can appreciate the new toy, if you will. And I'd like to hear more about your thoughts down below. It's been a long time coming. I promised you for a long time about the new toy. There it is, my new supercar. I definitely want to enjoy this and share all of the experiences with each and every one of you. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.